We have a bank. What am I missing? What am I leaving out? We had a bank in Tulsa that we decided that we should not be opening the mail or the money, because one of the things that people always like to accuse preachers of is getting the cash out of the mail. And so we chose to get an outside banking company which specializes in counting money, to take the money out of the envelopes, nothing else, and then send the letters to us to be read and you to be receipted for what you gave. So that this bank, so that I would not be around the money. The IRS, we've had them say that that is to be commended, that there is just no way that anyone can be stealing the money. Now, we've had some postal people steal it. My God, we've had postal people steal money. How many? 4 postal workers in the last month stealing money out of the envelopes. Now, if you have not been receipted and thanked for your donation, what, Marty? And they throw the request in the trash of the ditch. We just had a man a few days ago found a whole bag of our mail thrown in a ditch next to a drive-in. You know what they do to some of these people? Not much. Slap their little hand. But if you have not been receipted for your letter or thanked, then it was either stolen or lost in the mail. And they say, well, what do you do with I pray in the mornings for everything. And then I lay my hands personally on every prayer request that comes in either the phone center or comes in through the mail or comes in through our response pieces of paper that you write your prayer request on. I lay my hands on, and I scream and holler at the devil and tell him to break his power off of you and your family and your marriage and your homes. I do that. I do it. The devil, see, the attack is more than on me. It's on you. You that God has used me to help you release your faith in Him. Yes, we put prayer cloths in our packages. When we mail a letter to you, I put prayer cloths in. It's scriptural. The devil hates that, but it works. Acts 19:12, that cloths, the special miracles by laying on of hands on cloth. Yeah, we put anointing oil in there too. Those little things, seed or things, Jesus would spit in mud. He would always use something in the natural to touch, to help us as a trigger, a release, a point of contact to release our faith in Him. Remember the guy that had leprosy. What was he, a centurion? Or what was he, a centurion? The guy that had leprosy. What was that guy that had leprosy that Elijah prayed for him? Anyway, he didn't want to dip 7 times in the river Jordan. Haman. Yeah, he didn't want to dip in the river Jordan. But the prophet said, well, if you want to get a miracle, you're going to have to dip in that Jordan River water. Now, if you noticed how they said, Diane Sawyer said that they went undercover and they had Ole Anthony lie and say that he wanted to start a feeding program for children. And he called up our company that does our printing only, and went in there with hidden cameras. Diane Sawyer herself said that they went undercover and they lied. Well, when did they... Let's show that video footage of this so-called minister. He ain't a minister. He's nothing. He's less than nothing. His whole thing is built on what he can do to tear me down. His whole world is around tearing me down. He said that years here in Dallas. Okay, roll the tape.
So we decided to take hidden cameras to see what we could learn about Robert Tilton's fundraising. It led us first to the nerve center of his ministry, the company that organizes his direct mail. It's called...
I thought you was going to show Ole Anthony. Well, first of all, they went undercover. That's not the nerve center. That's a company that prints our envelopes and our letters. Now, that organization does other things for other commercial and Christian organizations, but they don't for us. And you know what? That guy knew that, but he wasn't going to let you know it. They did everything in their power to bring me down. Why? Because I'm preaching the gospel that Jesus preached, and I'm not ashamed of it. If you're going to be a Pentecostal, speak in tongues. If you're going to believe in healing, heal some people. If you're going to believe in prosperity, prosper. Cowards is what they are. Cowards, hiding behind the religious cloak. It's not a brains. See how they fuzzed all that stuff up and just put all those little adjectives in there? Like when I went to Colorado to pray over the prayer request, they said, well, he didn't go to the mountain. Well, I went to the mountains and it was 19 degrees when we were on the air. And I'm not going to camp out in a tent. I checked into a hotel, and it wasn't even a plush hotel. They said a plush, posh ski resort. It wasn't. It doesn't even, not even a ski resort. It's just a hotel there in Colorado. You saw me putting my bags in the car myself. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm telling you, they just, it is absolute. I'm going to walk in love. I'm going to stay in love. They, what? I didn't, and they said we received thousands of dollars in money. I never asked for a dime when I was in Colorado for a whole week. I didn't ask for a dime when I was in Israel. All we did was take prayer requests and pray for people that by the thousands people are hurting. That orphanage is there and we support it. We don't own it, we support it. We support lots of missionaries that do not have the ability to get the finances that they need for their organizations. We took over one with nearly 4,000 kids because the minister could not afford to keep it going. We get calls like this all the time. You know, it just amazes me. Diane Sawyer admitted that they lied and deceived to go behind the scenes. Now, when did they stop lying? They really never stopped lying. See, the devil's got to have a little bit of truth to put across his lies. He's got to look a little bit incredible. Now, here's the Ole Anthony guy posing as someone who wants to start a ministry to feed hungry kids overseas as a minister in feeding hungry kids with hidden cameras. Don't you know that you're supposed to have, you're supposed to tell a person if a camera's on? You know? How'd you like somebody to follow you around and try to, I'll tell you, you know what? I'm not going to say it because they just quote me on this, but I was going to tell you what it feels like to have people do what those people do, but I'm not going to tell you what it feels like. They were lying and lying and lying. They lied going in to interview. They lied sneaking in. They lied and lied and lied, and then they would take those things and then twist them around. No, they just edited this Ole Anthony guy back and forth with Jim Moore. I wasn't even the subject of the topic. Notice how they showed the water from the River Jordan, and then he said, oh, you can get things from Taiwan. We've never bought anything from Taiwan. Okay. How long has that been rolling?
You can avoid, again, how Jim and Tammy got caught.
They could have taken as much money as they wanted to and never gotten in trouble.
Yeah. See, that's why.
So you advise clients to sort of keep it non-specific?
Well, if you can raise it being non-specific, I always recommend that.
It isn't, and Tilton does that, but
yeah.
he's
never raised money for a specific project.
I tell you, you never heard a TV preacher asking for money like this before.
Robert Tilton.
Okay. Now, he was lying and just total deceit. They lied on Stephen before they stoned him to death. The devil went around and killed all of the young kids trying to kill Jesus. I am a prophet of God in these last days with a message from heaven to try to resurrect and bring a country and a world up out of the pits. Religion has bound America and the world for years. Religiosity. You know, what were you saying, Marty? What was I supposed to? What? Yes, it's trying to make it look like that Response Media writes my letters. They don't. Nobody can write letters like that. I either write them or dictate them. Man, I get these things from God, from heaven, and put it down on paper. It just amazes me. Where do they, such as ABC, where do they draw the line? When do they go from fact to truth? They just kept, remember the deal on the airplane where Inside Edition sneaked on the airplane when Mar and I were going to California at our own expense and tickets, and I showed him the tickets after I found out who he was, that we had bought those tickets personally ourselves and upgraded them with our Advantages miles. He didn't say none of that stuff. What did they do? They got a hidden camera on the airplane, and he came and posed to me that he says, hi, excuse me, are you Robert Tilton? And I said, yes. He said, my mother is a fan of yours or a partner, and could I talk to you a few moments? I said, sure. I spent an hour talking to that guy about the Lord, about Bible prosperity. Then he pulls a videotape out on me and says, would you look at this? I said, well, I don't really want to. Well, look at this. And he showed some woman screaming and hollering, mad at some preacher that she had given a donation to, and he didn't do what he said he was going to do with it. Then he turns the tape off and he says, what do you think about that, Reverend Tilton? I said, a preacher raises money for a particular thing That's what he's supposed to spend the money for, and if he doesn't spend the money for that, that would be fraud and a criminal offense, and he'd probably go to jail. He turns the tape back on. Then he looks at me, and all of a sudden he's on the tape. See, I don't know what's going on. He's on the tape, and he says, "You're that man, Robert Tilton." Did you know what they did? They edited on there and made it look like I was doing that. I do not receive designated gifts. We do tons of things all over the world. They're not even in our magazine. We can't put everything we do in there. See, we just did something that we are broadcasting the gospel throughout just about all of India to nearly 500 million people. One of the top evangelists in India is on radio there, could not afford his radio ministry, and asked us if we would do it, and we underwrote the entire radio ministry of this top Pentecostal evangelist in the majority of India. It's not in our... They don't know what that cost. People are always saying, "Bob, you should tell more people about what all you do." We do. It's in our magazines. Everything's in our magazines. How I get my salary is not set by me or our organization. It's set by an independent company. Hey, what else? What more can you do?